My dear Frodo, you asked me once if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures. While I can honestly say I have told you the truth, I may not have told you all of it.
Bilbo Baggins. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
I can't just go running off into the blue. I am a Baggins.
Wait!
Of Baggend.
Bilbo, allow me to introduce Fili, Kili, Oin, Loin, Darlin, Balin, Biffa, Bofa, Bomba, Dori, Nori, Ori, and the leader of our company, Thorin Oakenshield.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, the pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night, the fire was red, it flaming spread, the trees like torches blazed with light.
I cannot guarantee his safety,
Understood.
nor will I be responsible for his fate.
You'll have a tale or two to tell when you come back.
Can you promise that I will come back?
No. And if you do, you will not be the same.
My name is Bilbo Baggins.
Baggins's. What is Baggins's? Precious.
I'm Michael Reel, and this is REELURBANNEWS.LA. I'm standing on the borderline of Compton and Watts. To my left is Watts, and to my right, just to the south, is Compton. And this is where we catch up with author and former inmate Kevon Gulley. We talk with him about his new book, Just Like Compton. Kevon Gulley, thank you for being with REELURBANNEWS.LA.
And thank you for having me.
Kevon, talk about your new book, Just Like Compton.
Just Like Compton is a fictional novel based on true events where the names have been changed to protect the guilty, not the innocent. And it's basically 80% true in this journey through my life, you know, growing up in Compton.
Where did you write this book?
Corcoran Shoot, 4B2 Right. I was doing 8 years in prison for various bank crimes.
So you're a bank robber?
Yeah, I was. I'm retired.
Bank robber turned author.
Yeah, accidental author.
Let's talk about that journey.
The bank robbery or the authorship.
How did you get to become an author?
Got tired of reading books that were basically full of lies. You know, I mean, you can't write my life if you didn't live it. You know, you can't be a 22-year-old lady in Iowa writing about growing up in Compton and being in Folsom State Prison when you've never been. So instead of crying about it, I decided to do something about it.
Talk about the journey from your childhood to landing in prison.
I'm a victim of the 80s, and what that means is crack hit my family hard. You know, so both my parents were, you know, addicts. I ended up in the foster care system, and the foster care system is just preparatory for the juvenile hall system. So after juvenile hall, of course, there was a youth authority system, and I just traveled all the way up till I graduated to, you know, level 4 prison.
Hmm. Did you find yourself reading a great deal during your juvenile
Absolutely.
period?
I've read everything from the Quran to Mao Zedong's Red Book. You know, so all we did was read. You know, that's all you do is read. You know.
And from that reading, did reading spark your interest to become an author?
No, the writing the book was just strictly based on lack of integrity in the stuff I was reading. you know, and everything was about Baltimore, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Nothing was about us. So I decided, you know what, we need a book.
So we need a book that represents the West Coast.
Right. Not only just the West Coast, but the gangster life in the West Coast. Because that's what urban genre is basically, you know, urban genre, you know, growing up in the hood.
It's just like Compton. Yeah, I'm telling y'all, it's just like Compton.
Did you ever think that you would be an author and be published and really influence not only kids but their parents and have a message to share through your writing?
To be honest, absolutely not. I thought that I would write this book, somebody would give me a big check and everybody would go away. I didn't know that there was a lot that came with it, they said with great power comes great responsibility. I'm feeling that now.
Earlier you talked about being angry. And when you were writing this book, sitting in a prison cell, you were angry.
Right.
You were upset, you were mad. How do you feel now? You've had some success, you've had some accolades.
Right.
I see you have a smile.
Right.
How do you feel now?
Less angry. You know, the anger's still there because it's my motivation. But I'm a lot less angry and I understand a lot more. So, it helps to subside. When I got back to the shop, I noticed all the cars were gone except the Camaro, and that only the light from the TV glared through the front window. When I let myself in with my key, I saw Simone standing at the Miss Pac-Man game, focused intently. The only time she got like this was when she was really happy or really sad. The pile of Kleenex balled up on the floor next to her indicated the latter. I walked in and she gave me a weak smile, as I made my way over to her. Her body tensed as I stood behind her and wrapped my arms around her waist. She didn't pull away, which was a good sign. "Ow," she said as I pushed her hair back and bit her on the cheek. Her skin and hair smelled freshly washed like peaches. "What's the score?" I asked as I rested my chin on her shoulder. She pointed at the screen, then sniffled and reached for another tissue. I took it, turned her to face me, put it to her little nose and said, "Blow," like she was a little kid. She did, and we just looked at each other for a while. It was now dark outside, but even in the dim light, I could tell her eyes had taken on a goldish color.
Now dim. It's just like Compton. Yeah, y'all. Dim. They wanna be like Compton.
Kevon, what was it like for you growing up in these gritty streets of Watts and Compton?
Watts and Compton are pretty much the same. I was here about 10 years before my grandma became a guy. It's pretty rough, but you know, you grow with the time.
In your book, you talk about this Cafe Jordan's here on 114th of Wilmington.
Yeah.
Talk about your days spent here and how it was a part of your life.
I actually used to get a lot of free food here. You know, the lady I used to run it, she took like a liking to me, so she used to feed me when I didn't have any money. When I returned, Simone was arguing with the dusty-looking dude at the table. "What's wrong?" I asked, irritated. "Nothing. He was just leaving." "Oh, this your man?" the drunk swap meet nigga said. "My bad, folks," he said, lifting his empty glass and stumbling away. "You okay?" "Yes," she said as she raked another pile of chips towards herself. "Nothing can ruin this night," she said, smiling beautifully. I pulled her close and squeezed her in a way that made her face flush. I let go and watched her win for the next hour. At 9:30, I said, "Cash out, Ma." She knew I wasn't asking. When we got to the cashier's window, the cashier counted out $4,300 to my surprise and Simone's amusement.
And I'm sure you would say these people kind of helped shape who you became.
Absolutely. Probably a lot of my charitable traits come from growing up in this area. There's a lot of people that were nice to me.
When you talk to kids, what do you tell them about these gritty streets and how they can avoid some of the trappings?
First thing I tell them is the streets are alive. If your homies are your homies, they'll love you and let you go. You know? I don't want to see you down. If you're my homie, I want to see you make it. So, you know, that's the whole gist of everything.
Okay, cool. Still just a walking shot. How was that, Michael?
Then took my hand and said, "Let's go." When we got outside, I noticed Simone had parked directly across from me. I released her hand as we walked to our separate cars. When I got in the truck, I took out my phone and began to text message Misty. "So whoop," some voices said in front of me. "So whoop," I answered before I looked up. When I did, what I saw was in front of a dark blue Chevy Caprice, 2 Hispanic males and 2 handguns. Boom, 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 pack, 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 boom, 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 pack. The guns exploded as the bullets tore through the windows and the body of my truck. My waist felt hot and wet like I had spilled coffee on my sweater, and my face was burning. They say you never hear the bullets that hit you. That's some bullshit. I heard all 4 that entered my torso and face. All I could do was grab the seat lever and lay all the way back in the seat. The last thing I remember hearing was screeching tires in a collision, and I passed out.